Hello again, YouTube. I'm back with some more selections from my record collection. There's quite a bit of Krautrock amongst them today. I've gone for more Obscurities this time, you know, lesser known stuff. Again, I've taken all the plastic sleeves off them, you know, so you can see the record sleeves better. So anyway, yeah, here we go. This is the first one. They're not in any order at all. Again, just random order. Well, apart from the first two, so I can compare. But this is a Krautrock record from 1980. Quite eclectic sounding electronic Krautrock. It's by Christian von Eschersheim and it's called Sommernacht Strom. Here's the sleeve, the front cover. Now this one, a lot of the melodies sound quite silly and cartoony, but there is 2 or 3 tracks on here which are really impressive. I don't think the whole album's brilliant, but the title track is especially amazing. You know, it's a really beautiful song for about 8 minutes or so. This record's worth having just for that title track, in my opinion, Sommernacht Strom. It's on Sky Records, which Michael Rother was on, and other Krautrock artists. So yeah, this one I can recommend to a decent degree if you can find a copy. I don't think it's that rare to find. But yeah, Sommernacht Strom by Christian von Eschersheim. The only record in my collection that I can compare it to, that one I just showed you, is this one by Klaus Kruger. Klaus Kruger, who was also in Tangerine Dream with his own homemade synthetic drums. It's Zwischenmischung by Klaus Kruger. Another very eclectic sounding electronic Krautrock record. Just try and get that to it's a white sleeve, so there we go. It's on Klaus Schultz's innovative communication label from the early 80s. This was issued in 1982. It's very eclectic sounding. I already said that. But yeah, ex-member of Tangerine Dream. Got that in the city in Birmingham, England a couple of years ago. Was pleased to find it. Never heard it before. Played it. Got into it. You know, it's good. Recommended. This next one's not Krautrock at all. It's very different. It's kind of heavy psychedelic rock with a experimental and again eclectic approach. It's the Skull Defects, The Temple. Amazing cover art. The Temple by Skull Defects. It's a double LP. There's tracks on here that aren't on the CD, or is it vice versa? I can't remember. I'm sure there's extra tracks on here compared to the CD version. The back cover is quite impressive as well. There's a lot of synthesizer drones on here as well, and that Moog sounding synthesizers, analog synths, mixed with guitars and tribal drums. But yeah, The Temple by Skull Defects. That one's, yeah, very well recommended. Kind of dark, but psychedelic at the same time. More rock, kind of garagey rock. Thunder and Lightning by Modi Lemon from about the turn of the millennium. It's kind of psychedelic, garagey rock. They're the kind of minor hit with their song on here called Crows. It was on MTV a lot. Crows. Crows. It's a good album. Not many people are into them, I think. But I think this album's brilliant for a garagey alternative indie rock type thing, you know. Lots of guitar effects going on. But yeah, Thunder and Lightning, Modi Lemon. This is, again, more Krautrock. It's a reissue of Revelation by Virus. They were a bit famous in the early 70s for their hit song King Heroin, I think it was called. On Pills. I think it was on Pills, the Pills record label. But yeah, this is a reissue of Revelation by Virus. Originally released in 1971 on BASF. This is the 2013 Garden of Delights reissue. This is number 393 of 1,000 copies. Good stuff. Yeah, I haven't played this one very much, but I remember it being really good. Quite raw sounding, guitar based, hard rock, progressive rock, Krautrock, etc. But yeah, check that one out on Garden of Delights. One of my personal favourites by an American stoner doom band, quite psychedelic and dark at the same time, Catharsis by Yob. I think it's the first time this was ever on vinyl with alternate artwork. The artwork's different to the original release. Michael Scheidt is quite a famous guitarist in the underground of metal. But yeah, this is a dark album with lots of clean phaser guitar and heavy distortion, big amps, and heavy drums. Epic tracks though. The third track is almost 24 minutes long. First track is 18 minutes long. Amazing stuff. Highly recommended. Yob Catharsis. An obscure one here from the late 60s, I think. Late 60s, very late 60s. A reissue. This Tanyet by the Salib People. It features Roy Cooder on guitar. Some early work by Roy Cooder. He did a bit of session work on this, I think, according to the sleeve. This is quite an unusual psychedelic rock record, quite a light psychedelic rock, but it's got sitars on it, I think, and other exotic instruments. There we go. Tanyet. Well, the Salib People. Volt LP 117. This is a reissue. Recent replica reissue, something like that. Fairly recommended, that one. This next one is jazz. It's a jazz LP. I bought this one because it's got two of my favourite jazz artists on it. Benny Maupin, who played with Herbie Hancock on the Windushy recordings, and Cecil McBee, who's played with Ferris Sanders and done a lot of great solo work. Great bass player, one of my favourite bass players of all time. Almanac, featuring those guys. Benny Maupin, Cecil McBee, Mike Knock and Eddie Marshall. I bought this sealed. It had been sealed since about 1977, so it was mint. There's the rear of the sleeve, photos of the band. There's Benny Maupin in the top. There we go. Almanac from 1977. Quite straightforward jazz, but entertaining nonetheless. It's on Improvising Artists Incorporated. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Printed in the United States, New York. This one's fairly obscure artist. It's by J.D. Emmanuel. It's called Wizards. It's electronic synthesizer stuff, droney, melodic. There's the rear of the sleeve. Quite ambient, psychedelic, luminous. Yeah. J.D. Emmanuel, Wizards. More Krautrock. This time a recent issue of a previously rare live performance on red vinyl. It's by Kraftwerk. It's called Carousel der Jugend. It's a live Kraftwerk performance from winter 1970 in Soest, Germany. They do live versions of Stratovarius, Ruckzuck, Heavy Metal Kids, and there's an improvisation called Improvisation 1. This is when Kraftwerk was Ralph Hutter, Florian Schneider, and Klaus Dinger was playing drums on this actually. Klaus Dinger of Neu fame. He was in Kraftwerk before we formed Neu with Michael Rother. But yeah, this is a good record. It's quite dynamic, quite radical, experimental, psychedelic probably as well. But that's a recent issue. That's like a few years ago. But yeah, recommended stuff. Early Kraftwerk. A Quadraphonic LP now, by Morton Subotnick. It's called Touch. Experiments on the Buchla synthesizer. Electronic music system. Touch beginning and touch conclusion on side B. This record you have to be in the mood for. It can drive you up the wall a bit if you're not in the mood or tired. But it's quite. Sounds like quite random synthesizer noises, but I'm sure it's all intentional. Well, partially maybe by Morton Subotnick. Yeah, an experimental synthesizer thing. It's SQ encoded, so it's Matrix Quadraphonic. There we go. From about 1973, 74, I think this was issued. At the peak of quadraphonic sound. More Krautrock. This time by Rodelius, Hans-Joachim Rodelius, Durch die Wurst. Features Conrad Plank, the famous producer of much Krautrock material. Conrad Plank on percussion and guitar on side 1. I was on side 2 as well. This is quite an experimental Krautrock record, quite eclectic sounding. But yeah, Durch die Wurst by Hans-Joachim Rodelius of Cluster fame. His earlier band with Dieter Mobius. My favourite Steve Hillage record up next. Rainbow Dome Music. Amazing piece of music, synthesizer, electronic music, very melodic, very euphoric. Released in 1979, well recorded in January 1979. Steve Hillage, Rainbow Dome Music. Commissioned for a festival, I believe, in a dome. Amazing stuff. Much recommended that. Another Rodelius record, because they're both good, the ones that I am, really good, both Rodelius records. When Does Sudwin Wait? My German's not very good, excuse me. Yeah, this is a great record, very ambient and very melodic, very peaceful. You can probably get a rough idea of what it sounds like from the album cover, in a way. But this is on Sky Records as well. Released in I'm not sure, it doesn't say on it. Released in 1981. Rodelius, one of the better records of his I've heard. A bit of blues this time on Transatlantic, featuring some obscure blues tracks. The Michael Raven Blues Sampler. Features tracks by Leadbelly, Jimmy Witherspoon, Memphis Slim, Sonny Terry, Blind Willie McTell, Lightning Hopkins, some names you've heard, and some more obscure blues artists from the Delta blues era, early 20th century, up till about the 1940s, 50s, etc. Very cool cover. On it's on Transatlantic. Mark Raven Blues Sampler. A few more left. One on ECM, mostly jazz label. None of Vasconcelos, I think the album's pronounced, is it called Saudades? Saudades, Saudades. Very organic and ethnic, exotic sounding improvisations maybe by None of Us Consolos on some lesser known instruments, including the berimbau. There's a track on here by Egberto Gismonti who plays a super 8-string guitar. He's, I think, a guest on this album. But that's an amazing piece of music by Egberto Gismonti. 8-string acoustic guitar, like a Spanish thing. Yeah, this is a good record. Found this in the wild. Was really pleased to find it. None of Us Consolos, Texture Sleeve, ECM. And finally, more Krautrock. More electronic, eclectic sounding, dark Krautrock by little known artist Adelbert von Dayen. Atmosphere. This is very driving, dark Krautrock in places. Very like Tangerine Dream. Just as cool though. Some ambient sections with clean guitar. Very cool stuff. This one's highly recommended. Atmosphere by Adelbert von Dayen. And there we go. That's all of them. Thanks a lot.